Eyes on Longmont, offering a diversity of topics about our community that will inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy this edition of Eyes on Longmont.
Hello, I'm Laura from MASA Seed Foundation, and welcome to the MASA Seed House and Nursery, Plant Nursery and Farm. MASA stands for Mutual Admiration Seed Association, and what you see behind me are all the jars of seeds that are right behind me that happen to be labeled and ready to go. They're all seeds that we grow, so we're not buying and selling the seeds, but they're locally adapted and grown right here on our farm. And they know the climate. Last year was really rainy, and that 2 years ago the climate was really dry and windy. If some of you who live here know that that's how it was. So these seeds are not in a freezer, in a seed bank. They're actually getting taken out on this acreage, about 24 acres every year, and then brought back in. And we clean the seeds and sort them and germinate them. And then we make them available to gardeners, farmers, schools, community gardens, libraries, seed swaps. We do a lot of donation as well as a little bit of online sales, and we're starting to enter with the community to try to know that they can get seeds right here in our seed house. I am at MASA on a small home crew full-time where we take care of the farm operations, where we take care of directing how you would go on an agricultural expedition out here and take these seeds out, grow vegetables, herbs and flowers, all kinds of diversity, and then to bring the seed crops in the fall and process those seeds. So sometimes it's a dry process and sometimes it's a wet process. But we take those seeds then and test them and bring them forward into the next season. This has been going on forever. People have been doing that. Farmers 100 years ago would have saved out a little bit of their crop for seed. But now many farmers and gardeners will go online and order seeds or just buy seeds from any place, or they'll buy seeds from their favorite heirloom and organic seed companies and seed growers. But these heirloom seeds and these native seeds that we grow are grown in the Mountain West. So they're going to work very well around here and up to the north. We do ship them out everywhere. And so it makes it a really unique seed collection, let's say, this living library.
Hi, how are you? I'm Richard Pecoraro, the founder of the MASA Seed Foundation. We're here in MASA Gardens, at MASA Farm, MASA Gardens here on 75th Street in Boulder. And I gotta just say, you know, the real stars of the show are always what you produce, right? So we're a seed foundation. Foundation represents that we're dedicated to not only growing seeds, which is very, very important for us to grow seeds for natural adaptation and, you know, to our local region, especially with climate change, that we're really in a situation where everything we can produce or breed that's closer to home starts to develop the resilience and the adaptability to, you know, the swift changes that are happening for us. So it's a mission. It's been a mission of mine personally for many, many years, 4 decades.
As a seed farm, and on-farm seed breeding requires, just like this, for us to collect out of the crop a selection of the crop for seed, some for food. So out of these pea seeds, and these are peas, sweet Jimmy peas, and we grew 18 rows of peas and over 30 different varieties of seed this year, and we picked seeds and peas for people to eat, snow peas, snap peas, and shelling peas for people to eat for several weeks. And then we were picking the seeds, picking the food, and at some point we let the rest of the crop go to seed. We cut it out and dried it out on the field. And then just recently, yesterday, we took the chaff off of and separated the plants and the shelling peas. And so this is how we're now drying that crop. We also have a little bit of sticks and twigs, so the labor for that is going to take us time. So it's a little bit different than farming, picking your perishable produce and feeding people, which is great, but then you're also saving seed to plant in many gardens. Another thing that we have just harvested are poppy seeds, and the poppies are an orange or red flower, the beautiful poppy flower, and most people don't look at them after they're no longer in bloom, but they actually turn into these little rattle pods, and inside of that rattle are the little seeds that you might put on a bagel. And we probably won't do that because we're going to plant these for more poppies and also to give to other gardens. And so we try to pick them when they are not so blue like that, because that one didn't have seeds ready, it wasn't ready, but more when they look like this. They have little holes at the top, and the poppy seeds pour out of those when they go upside down. So we waited until just the right time, and now we have poppy seeds to add to the seed bank. About every 3 days at MASA, we have about this many chamomile flowers on our chamomile rows, and we pick them, and then about 3 days later they come back. And the chamomile is being collected, could be for seed, but we're collecting it right now for tea and for saving the herb. And it smells beautiful. It's a relaxing herb for your nervous system. When you look at it, the chamomile plants, it's actually tending them, cultivating them to actually take these off. And the pollinators don't mind. The bees are still coming.
And in this case, we got these beautiful carrots. These carrots started, this is called kurotas. It's a Japanese bred carrot. And we obtained the seed in 1992, so it's very long. It's a long time ago now. We're going now, that's 30 years, 29. And we were so impressed with the vigor and the taste of the carrot that we took the selections of the carrot and put it back in the ground after it was stored for winter. And then it blooms the second season. And so we've done that several times, probably close to almost 10. 10 generations. And so this is widely adapted carrot now to the Rocky Mountain West. And we feel like, there's a lot of great carrots in the world. There's a lot of great breeders and a lot of hybrids, and these are non-hybrid seeds. So they produce a population of a little bit of non-uniformity in some cases. So we're not 100% homogeneous. That's the goal with industrial breeding, is that everything looks exactly the same. And there's a reason for all that. Just makes it a lot easier for packing, shipping, sorting, everything, right? As long as it all looks the same, you don't have to think about it as much. But this is more traditional.
But this field is a field of lettuce seed trials and collection of growing and collecting lettuce seeds. And what you see in between right here is kohlrabi and fennel. And then there's chamomile and other flowers. And when you put flowers in between the rows of lettuces, they bring the pollinators, they bring the insects, and they keep them a little bit more off the vegetables. And so it's a healthy garden. We're letting those lettuce go up to seed the endive also, radicchio. And all of those are a lettuce that turns into a big tower. And the top of the lettuce will have little cups of seeds that we will then collect. So this was a head of lettuce like you usually see in the store, and then this is a lettuce that turned into its full plant, gets larger, and then these are the flowering part that when the time is right, we will come and collect the seeds for the seed bank at MASA.
So if you see in the background, you'll see more seeds. And we work with Neolithic crops. Neolithics are the oldest crops in the, cultivated crops in history. So these are garbanzo or chickpeas. Chickpeas, if you can zoom in on them, you'll see it's they're quite beautiful. Yeah, like a rattle. And when we're rattling, gosh, we're singing to a 10,000-year-old history. The chickpeas and the wheats. Down in here you have the wheat. This is a heritage wheats. And some of these wheats date back that far too. Although these are more current. But they're not hybrids.
So the seeds can stay germinating average 5 to 7 years, but we've had some for several decades. The onion seeds, which happen to be these, and we have several varieties, but these are Valencia onion. Onions are a little bit short, 2 years, and so it's a biennial seed, and so they're going to lose their germ rate. If you put them in a freezer, maybe they'll stay a little bit longer. And so we're always growing, in order to locally adapt the seeds, we grow them for several up to 10 iterations or 10 seasons so that then we can see that they're locally adapted. And the way we're doing that is by rigorous selection. So we're selecting the plants and seeds for their vigor rate and their resilience. So if you live around here, you'll know that there's a high sun and a west wind, and there's often clay in the soil. And so what we're doing is taking and selecting. So if we grew many varieties of lettuce or many varieties of peppers, we're going to see which ones do well here. The same thing with the heritage grains, flowers, all the different families of herbs and vegetables. And so this sort of diversity is unique. If you're going to be leaving everything up to large agriculture, they're going to be more narrow focus and they may not grow so many different varieties, right? But we're keeping a lot of diversity right here in Colorado. For backyard gardeners, we've made a farmer's choice selection of varieties, a collection on our website. They're going to get greens, roots, herbs, flowers, and summer vegetables. It's a lot. But if somebody wanted to do just a little bit of each, they could just select out of our catalog on their own. Or focus more on pollinators, on flowers if they like. A lot of times if you're a new gardener, you might be attracted to doing a salad garden or planter where you have lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, herbs like parsley, some things that you can just use right from that little garden, or a salsa garden where you might get a tomato, a scallion, and a pepper, different things that you would put in your salsa. And that's just right there as a try that. So when you're talking about those varieties in a collection, if you were to get a little collection, I have roots, flowers, and summer vegetables. And inside of these, there's 5 or 7 packets in each one. And that way, when you go to plant your garden, you're going to have pollinators and food. Then we also have a green set and a heritage grain. And most people wouldn't necessarily be growing the heritage grains, which would be corn and wheat and amaranth, teff sometimes. But even having a little bit of corn and wheat, barley, oats growing, you're going to relate to your food a little bit more. So it hasn't been something that people think about growing, but they do like grasses, native grasses around their house. And just to see the food that you're eating is something else. You can also educate children and yourselves. So there's so many seeds that I love and so many plants. I'm particular about the tomatoes, herbs, and flowers. Why not? And this is a tangerine marigold. And the tangerine marigold flowers smell like tangerines. And when we're walking around with people on the farm, oftentimes we'll just come and visit them. So a lot of the scented ones, the Tulsi basil, very similar. It smells like bubble gum. It's so good. So this particular one, though, is just a special one to me. And sometimes we'll find a little variation in the color, and I'll select those seeds separately. So there was a little bit darker orange on a few plants last year, and I have those set aside. So learning to save seeds, you could start. And if you started with something simple, it would be great. I know Rich, our founder and director, had said one of the early seeds he saved was an amaranth seed, and it was one of the amaranths, and it was a grain amaranth that was easier to thrash, save, dry, and then plant again. Some people will do that with a tomato. You see the seeds in the tomato. Yeah, we actually save those. We ferment them in water first to separate out the pulp, and then we pour that water off and dry them. And then once they're dry, turn around and plant them. And so just doing that one time with one thing can be an experience of, oh, I could do this more. It was the natural way. The fork in the road happened in around 1930, where the heirloom seeds were the seeds and then the hybrid seeds were developed. And the hybrids can be grown organically or not, but they're not as easy to save seeds from, and they happen to belong to mostly corporations and governments, right? The heirlooms are, these are heirlooms being, and our seed collection being part of a nonprofit. They belong to the people. We do try some new varieties. We also have some things cross or improve, and then it's a new variety. We've added a lot of native plants to our collection, and we have the CU evolutionary biology class in twice a month now. And this season we're focusing our trial on all 1,000 varieties, but also with a hyper focus on garbanzos and lentils and teff and sunflower. And so we're going to have a lot of varieties of those, like up to 100, yeah. And then from that, we'll do a selection to see which ones are growing here. Mm-hmm. So if it was 100 years ago or more, you wouldn't be farming in the Mountain West. You'd be hunting buffalo and gathering native plants. In fact, I heard that Chief Niwot went to the East Coast to find out what farming was. And he's like, wow. So not very many people would grow their seed collection here in the Mountain West, where it's a little bit challenging to grow. But we're adapting all of those varieties. A lot of these things are not from here. So a lot of the varieties come from other parts of the world. And those are the varieties that we're finding so much that can grow. And this is for local food security. Our children's children can have a living library of seeds, and to go with that, soil, water, and sun and air. So this is a Bolivian rainbow pepper. It's beautiful. It's actually points upward and is purple in hue, and it's spicy. They're hot. And it crossed with a Criollacea, and that's why the tags on these trials say BXC. And some of them are sticking up like their original counterpart, but some of the peppers growing are actually started to face down. Some turned out tall and some turned out short. And so this is a selection to have a new seed that crossed, and they're getting hotter. The peppers are getting hotter as they develop. There's a lot of the ethnobotanical, we call them culturally inclusive varieties, and so the Bear Island flint corn is one that was sent to us from the Bear Island Reservation, and a lady named Rachel, and she sent us a large bag of her flint corn, and then we ended up growing about 700 pounds. And then I found out there's a reservation in Canada, and they've been getting some of their seed back, and so those are the seeds that their people had, and during colonization they had lost. And so it's called rematriation, and so we were able to grow that. And that was a really high germinating seed they sent us, and so it was a good outcome. Yeah. And so we're really, just to be able to do that for a community of people. We're also finding that the people from all over the world will really appreciate these culturally inclusive plants. And so the kind of diversity at MASA allows for us to be growing food that's from Africa, from Mexico, from all over. At MASA, because we're installing 24 acres, we have what we think of as about 10 big fields, and they're farm scale gardens, and they're by theme. And so the themes would be the milpa field, the corn, bean, squash, amaranth, and sunflowers, gourds, whatever understory. When you go into that garden, you're in Mesoamerica, you're in South America. You're going to feel like you've entered an environment, but those plants grow so well together. And then when we grow our African garden, we have more of the sorghum, millet, Thai basils, cucumbers, lutha, squashes. Those are in that garden. And so those companion plants. Everyone loves the Italian French garden, where all the flowers and eggplants, flowers, peppers, and herbs are. And we grow a very large garden, so it's almost should be as a demonstration garden for all these diverse varieties that have been adapting in the Mountain West. We do practice regenerative farming practices, and what we do for that is called crop rotation, and so we won't grow the same thing every year in the same place. We also do cover cropping, so this year we have a buckwheat on that front garden, and there's some oats in it, but that buckwheat is really good for the field to just sit there and grow. We also put a couple of large fields as oats and radish cover cropping, and so that's how you cycle through. We are planting, as part of regenerative farming, hedgerows and trees this season, and so we're taking several acres at MASA and converting it from more open farmland into these intercropping with the hedgerows and trees. And so we were delivered 150 trees yesterday. We invite the nature into the farm by keeping part of the farm just natural around, but then planting a lot of pollinators and things that are like candy for these insects. And so we do that nearby of our plants. So let's say we have the Mediterranean garden, and there's tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, flowers, herbs, all in the same beautiful garden. You might have something calendula flowers sitting there, and a lot of the insects would like to go there, and they're just staying off your parsley and staying off of your tomatoes. And so we're trying to promote to have them there. We also only use organic and natural fertilizers. We make our own fertilizer. We offer a community-supported agriculture. It's a CSA where people would take a Farmer's Choice box once a week and get this nutritious farm fresh produce. And when you get that, or a customer choice where you can come and shop off of our farm stand. But when you get that, you're getting this local high-grade produce, really fresh off the field that day. And when you pick up your food, you can see where it comes from. It's right there. You can just look out at the field. You know that your food is fresh. I know if any of you have been living here and you go in the grocery store in the winter, California is sort of our salad bowl, and a lot of things have been here on a truck and they're not as fresh. So that's just the way we live in Colorado. But the CSA program and becoming a member of MASA is supporting MASA's efforts as a nonprofit seed foundation. And so we have the food where it has a place to go. You have a historical farm to come to. And we offer events and farm dinners at the same time throughout the summer. We have more produce than we have for the CSA and for a membership. And so what we started 2 years ago is a farm to food pantry or farm to food bank initiative at MASA. And so we call it Help Us Help Others, and we started off having individuals fund food to go to the 4 or 5 pantries around Boulder County. And then we started to partner with other organizations so that we could move more produce. And so we were able to move 1,000 pounds of farm fresh produce a week last season. And we're hoping to continue that and to build that. We do farm to school as well as some restaurants buy wholesale produce. I think it's especially important for children to get some idea about gardening. We were able to go to the Boulder garden tour and have a table the last few years. And we got to go to the academy where it's a senior home. And they have raised garden beds, and the people there grew victory gardens, and they know how to garden. They have so many great varieties there. It's not really a public garden, it's theirs. But when you meet with children, and I have school field trips, we love to have school field trips at MASA, then those children don't yet know how to garden, and I want to be part of the reason why they love it. So that they don't just learn computer things, but they also learn to get outdoors and how to plant, how to grow, and they can look at the seeds. The seeds have so many different sizes, colors, different stories, different things that they grow, and I think that a lot of people don't connect their food to seed. And there needs to be an aha that the seeds are important. We do have bedding plants in the nursery. Our plant nursery is really growing exponentially. And so that's also an open to the public plant nursery to get locally adapted, organic, native and heirloom plants. We have year-round volunteering. We're a very small crew in our nonprofit. We also have a board of directors that we build and committees to help with seeds, plants, plant nursery, and farm stand produce. With our volunteers, it depends on what part of the season, but we go year-round. So in the winter months, we're germinating the seed collection, we're packing the seeds, we're also weighing them. Then we start putting seeds in the nursery into the trays, and so the volunteers come and they'll help us seed the trays, but then once those plants grow, we transplant. And so they'll be moving the plants in a beautiful greenhouse. It's so nice. And the historical farm is nice. People just love to be out in the air with the plants. You bloom in the garden. As the season goes on, in May, we're still doing a lot of greenhouse, plant nursery. At some point, we'll take some of those seeds and plants and plant our farm. And that goes on for a little while till we start tending and cultivating in the summer and weeding a little bit. And then the harvest season comes. And we love having help with that too. To come to MASA as a volunteer, we have a Sign Up Genius online, and you can log in there. But if you need to find another time of the week or day, you can also write in or using our phone number, do a text. But Boulder County had a seed house at Long's Garden, and it closed in the 1950s. There was one, some people remember, in Denver. It had the name of Rocky Mountain something, and that one was closed. And so in the day, back in the days, like, you know, in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, these seed houses were a place where people would bring and trade and buy seed. The seeds were all local, and that was a natural thing to have a seed house. And so now we're bringing back having a seed house as a place for meeting and learning, and coming to. And this particular house is from 1923, so this year it's 101. And it's in great shape now. And it'd be a great place for people to come and visit. I think it just feels natural to come into the seed house and to go out in the nursery and gardens at MASA. We have a lot of varieties in the seed house, and we're opening the seed house to the public now so that they can come here as a place to meet. We have garden clubs come and meet and take tours here. We have companies. We sometimes are able to just rent the farm for people to host a dinner and anniversary. There are 4 farm dinners in the summer. And then we do have the Laudisio Pizza Oven, and we have pizza, sunflower days, chili festival, melon festival. And so there are times to come out and get involved on the farm. And so we like people to get involved any way you can. This is a place for people. We see that there's inevitable changes in climate or extremes happening in climate, but we're also seeing ourselves and other people doing so much that we feel that there's a lot of people, I feel there's a lot of people doing so much good. And in this agriculture, to have the seeds trialed, adapted, selected through this rigorous selection process is a really big piece of what needs to happen, or else the seeds will just end up in the marketplace getting passed around and not having that selection process. A lot of farmers don't have time. And so the inspiration comes just because we bloom in the garden. We feel like we love growing the seeds. And it's so interesting being, doing so many diverse things out here. You're not doing some rote thing, So like planting time and harvest time, and then even the dormant times in winter where we get to do our visioning for the next year. It all comes as part of it. We want to keep this alive, and it's a succession plan to make sure that the knowledge about growing and saving seeds goes on into the next generation. We don't want them to lose that. And we know how, so we can be teaching that.
So our mission is to pick up where we left off about the era when the great open-pollinated strains were still around and hybridization took over. We decided to go back to that junction and stay on that course because we really believe in what our ancestors have done to get us here, and our forefathers and foremothers. So that's really a main part of the dedication of our work on a science level, is to keep researching and growing and developing new seed stocks that are widely adapted to our region so we can share it with our kids and share it with other farmers, gardeners. The goal is always to work on a multi-demographic level, not just one level. So we're interested in serving urban peoples as well as the rural and as well as suburban, because we need to grow food everywhere. So that's why we feel and consider ourselves a foundation of seed work, because we really want to serve all demographics.